Okay, today I'm actually going to work out and become super fit. Fail, fail, fail. Hello friends, welcome to my channel where I talk about anything and everything through a mindful lens. Want to save those plans, gym memberships, boundaries, diets, kindness, sobriety, and philanthropy plans you committed yourself to do? Well, today we're gonna go deep and get to the root causes of why you may be falling short and how to fix them. Many of us face this issue and have read the 10,000 articles and videos on how to follow through with your plans to change your life, have our best interests, but autopilot knocks us to our knee. Next thing you know it, bye-bye ideal self, and here we are again, old self. So maybe, just maybe, this is the last video you'll have to watch on changing your life successfully. First, let's talk change. We often think of change for our own lives as windows and moments in time that are optimal for us to seize and make the most out of. And I say optimal because there's usually something happening or a hallmark time of the year when we get into a reflective mood and perhaps decide that we need to push ourselves a little harder to live a better life. So it could be as simple as the cliche New Year's resolutions to getting that new haircut as a symbol of a new chapter of our lives to even the depths of failed careers, relationships, and marriages that prompt us to climb out of that rut. Unless you're a super adventurous spirit and don't mind mass chaos and constant adventure in your life, many of us who are content with our lives and are lying around feeling blessed won't all of a sudden just decide to throw that down the drain and put our blessings down on the gambling table. What I'm saying is that we tend to only set ourselves out to change our lives when we inherently think that there's a problem. The irony is that change is constant and the currency of time. When you think about even how our hair or nails are growing by the second, that can be applied to aspects of our lives we usually deem as pretty set, like personality, morals, and even the way we carry and present ourselves. What I want you to keep in mind throughout this video is that for us to be humans, changing our life is already ingrained in every breath we take and is actually natural for us. So think about that for a second and allow yourself to be open so all the practical things we discuss will become that much easier. Now let's set you up for success. The first reason, and perhaps the most obvious one as to why changing your life is so hard, is because we are wired to take the path of least resistance. Part of what makes habits so hard to break out of is that habits means comfort and familiarity, and therefore less energy exertion and work for your brain to do. It's our brain examining whether we are safe in our old paths. In the case of habits, saying a big yes, giving that stamp of approval and continuing down the old path so the big back predators, aka change, and the corresponding fears of uncertainty don't threaten us. So what's really happening is that we have a large gap and disconnect between our intention, which lives in our mind, and our routine, which lives in both our minds and body. So 2 to 1, good luck. Neuroscience studies utilizing MRI scans have also shown that decision making happens in a matter of 100 milliseconds. 100 milliseconds. And changing our decision involves neural coordination among multiple regions of your brain, specifically the prefrontal cortex and frontal eye field, which is more communication workload for your neurons to perform versus just operating from one region, the basal ganglia, which drives habits. So take the most common example of you want to exercise more. Your intentional mind is telling you that exercise is great and will bring you so many benefits like good health or, let's be real, perceived attractiveness. But your habitual neural pathways and muscle memory is telling you it's a lot of work. What if I fall off the treadmill or hit the pool while doing backstroke? Treat yourself to do something easier like watching TV. Without even getting to stepping out of the house, in a matter of 100 milliseconds, your mind and body have already made up a binder full of excuses and to not step out of your comfort zone. But not all is lost even if you're up against the majority. The fix to overcome habits overpowering you is a Buddhist principle called mere recognition. What mere recognition means is being able to catch yourself when you're making all those excuses or are already enacting a bad habit. For example, if you're prone to losing your temper and just feel like it's way beyond your control, being able to do the first step of recognizing that you are losing your temper in the moment is already one big victory for yourself. Habits are sticky and we often don't even realize that the mind and body have made a pact to stay comfortable and safe. So when we use mere recognition as that source of light that slowly melts away the need for safety and certainty, we are already on the path of bringing that change. And you might be thinking, no duh, that's why I've already identified the problem. You will be surprised at how often we unconsciously let ourselves slide into an old habit in a matter of 100 milliseconds and only recognize it after the fact. Like after you throw that rage or after not stepping out of the house to go to the gym and it's actually already midnight. By then, it's a little late. You've lost that window of opportunity to change your life and you'd rather cozy up in bed so you're fresh for work tomorrow or storm out of that room after you have argued with a loved one. And I think recognizing it in the moment also takes a kinder approach. When we fail ourselves, we beat the living out of ourselves, intensify that guilt and shame, and this is all a byproduct of recognizing the old habit after the fact. When we're able to label it as a habit we want to move away from in the moment, we are allowing ourselves to take things slowly and know that we are already doing the groundwork for significant change and sets us up for the next step. The second reason why changing your life can be so hard is because you've already reaped the gratification from identifying the problem. Let's be real, sustained peace and happiness can be hard work, and we know it. Deep down, we know that scrolling on social media and mindless shopping are not adding long-term joy to our lives, but we still do it anyways because it's just so easy and so instant. And in a time when introspection unfortunately isn't the mainstream ideology, even taking some time to reflect on ourselves can feel like climbing Mount Everest or Mount Fuji when we're not in the habit of doing so. And when we finally feel like we've gotten to the root of it and identified the change that we want, it can already feel like a job well done. And we may start prematurely announcing our plans to change to the world and getting all the praise for our well-intentioned plans. A research conducted at NYU by Peter Goldwitzer demonstrates this phenomenon. In one study, law students were separated into two groups after filling out a questionnaire that indicated each participant's commitment to becoming a lawyer. One group was asked to confirm their answer and intention to becoming a lawyer in front of someone else, while the second group dropped the questionnaire into a box knowing that their responses were anonymous. Both groups were then given a 45-minute legal case study, and interesting enough, the first group who had to confirm their strong intentions to become a lawyer in a social context spent less time working on this case study than those who thought the questionnaire was anonymous. In short, contrary to what we're taught of announcing our plans to others so they can keep us accountable can actually fall quite short in the scheme of changing your life. And this applies to announcing it to ourselves too. When we already receive the gratification of doing the hard work to either identify the problem at hand and hence the change that is needed, we may be rewarding ourselves intrinsically too much already and therefore thinking that it's already a job well done. We may be already going on a shopping spree to treat ourselves for the hard work. Hence, change is all theory, philosophy, thoughts, and words because you already got the trophy before you even took the first step to change. And it's also kind of like saying you went to the doctor, got a diagnosis, and decided, nah, that's not treated, knowing what the disease is good enough for me. Again, mere recognition will need to come into play first so you're aware of slipping into old habits. Once you're able to recognize your habits in the moment, then the antidote to this gratification is to really feel and embrace the resistance. As we've discussed, habits die hard, so stepping towards change will always involve some sort of friction that perhaps feels like pushing a car up a hill all by yourself. The more we resist that resistance, the more difficult the resistance becomes. And the more resistance you pile up internally, your brain and body defaults to the path of least resistance. So taking a kinder approach of giving that resistance a hug, feeling the physical tenseness from getting out of your comfort zone, or feeling that hollowness of fear from not knowing what's to come, will propel you into change naturally. You are no longer playing dictator and ignoring your own fears, but telling yourself that you are safe to take that bold first step. And not to be a science nerd, but Newton's first law in motion states that an object at rest stays at rest. An object in motion stays in motion. When you overcome that inertia or that initial resistance through embracing it, the more likely you are to continue doing it. Sometimes all it takes is just that first living proof that you can make change happen and that it really wasn't as difficult or as scary as you thought it would be. It's always important to acknowledge and celebrate yourself for embracing that resistance and breaking out of the habit cycle every time. So you let success feed upon success. And with this positive feedback loop, this is how habits form and become second nature to you, like everyday maintenance. And the next thing you know, you can look back at your old self and think, who that? Don't know her. The last reason why changing your life can sometimes be so hard is that the change intrinsically is not for you. This could either look like the change being too unrealistic given your circumstances, the change being not timed right, or trying to change in a way that is actually counter to your growth. When we don't question why we want to change in a given moment, it's easy to fall into a habit of wanting to change just because. Just because it's the New Year's, so why not? Or just because everyone says it's good for you, so why not? Or just because. We as humans tend to think that motion or having a plan is the only way forward when sometimes it's not. Forcing change that isn't coming from within are only distractions for yourself to avoid sitting down and thinking deeply about what you really want to prioritize in life. And you may find that after evaluating deeply that perhaps some of the changes you thought are needed are actually stemming from non-problems, or that the changes are actually just superficial symptoms of an even larger issue that won't really move the dial. When we're so obsessed with setting our life in motion and always going after the next thing, the next change so we can tick our boxes, we forget that life may already be perfect and or that there's a much deeper problem than what meets the eye. And setting yourself out to carry those changes are not only going to waste your time, but actually not nourish that growth you so desired in the first place. So perhaps you tried making the change happen for a few times and failed every single time. Perhaps after you tried mere recognition and embracing the resistance to push yourself through, then it's time to take a step back and really question your intentions, the why. Why are you trying to change, and what makes you think that the change you identified is actually going to solve the problem? And why is that a problem a problem? Sounding a little like a riddle? It is. Knowing where your desire to change stems from and knowing what problems you think are problems are key to enacting quality change for your life in the long run. I remember once in high school my US history teacher saying you can win a battle or battles but not win a war. Think about what war you are fighting and whether those battles mean much to begin with. The more we're able to see our intentions in a clearer lens, the less time we need to waste throwing our little change soldiers into the battlefield. Not that it's actually a battlefield, because be kind to yourself. Spend your time wisely so you're not chasing change thinking that you're chasing happiness, because those two things can actually be quite different. Chasing change could lead to happiness, but could also lead to day-to-day misery when it's not targeting the right diagnosis. Curing a disease takes the right medicine, so make sure you identify the correct change medicine so you cure your problems more spot on. Don't rack up those medical bills just because you are privileged and have health insurance. Take a pause, a deep breath, and get ready to do some deep inner self-inquiry, and real change will come about and you never have to fail yourself again. Alright friends, time for me to do some introverting and introspection. If you learned something from this video, your boy Matt here would appreciate a like and subscribe, or even a share if you dare. And until then, take care. You got this. Till next time.